Hello boys and girls and everything in between, or everyone in between. Welcome to this tutorial on Symfony. We begin our journey, our treacherous journey, on the Symfony website, strangely enough. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be creating a Symfony API with a Vue frontend, Vue.js front-end, a JavaScript front-end, and we will be doing this in using Symfony Encore, which is pretty useful. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into it because I don't like to mess around. If you do, you can go and pleasure a donkey. Right, so we'll head over to the getting started. We'll go to setup. And in here we can see all the information about, shockingly, to setting up a Symfony application. And if you are not familiar with any of this, I would recommend installing the Symfony CLI. CLI is just a command line interface. So yeah, install this, go away, figure it out. Get that up and running. So basically you just want to run Symfony and it give you a response inside of your terminal to make sure that it's running correctly. Once you've done that, you can use these commands to create a new Symfony application. And if you don't want to use the CLI because you're a rebel, then you can use the composer command to create the project. So I already have the CLI installed, so I'm just going to copy this one, and then I'm going to head over to the terminal. I'm going to go into the directory in which I store all of my sites and everything. Then what I will do is I'll simply paste that and then change the name. So the name I'm going to give it will be API example. And I'm writing in caps. You can write it in whatever you want. You don't have to write it in caps. I'm just, being a keyboard warrior. So, everything in caps. So hit enter and watch the fluffy magic occur, and things happen. And there we go. We now have a beautiful Symfony project. API example, there we go. We have a beautiful Symfony project installed, and we can now open it up in our code editor, which I'm using Visual Studio Code. You can use whichever one you want, obviously. Your life is yours to live. Don't be shackled by the man. So yeah, we now have this project open. We can see there's not much in it. So let's jump right into what we need to get it up and running, right? So what we want to do is we want to have composer require. This is just a short form of require. So we want the API. We want to create an API. So we're using the API platform, and this is a Symfony recipe to install that. And it will go away and do some configuration inside of your project. It will also pull in the required packages. Okay, so once we've done that, we also want to install JSWT. If you're not familiar with what JSWT are, pause the video now, go away and Google it, find out. Basically, JavaScript token, JavaScript web tokens, I think, something like that. And we're going to pull them in like so. It's also this is an official package from Symfony, which is awesome. Okay, so what else do we need? We also need Encore. Encore, which is essentially it's the go-between. It's like a bridge between the Symfony application and your front-end application. So that's installed now. What we can do is we can install Yarn, like so. Yarn install. If you don't know what Yarn is, it's just it's another package manager like npm. I use it. You can use npm if you want. Again, the world is your oyster. So this generally takes a little bit of time. So I will use the my skill of time travel, and I'll see you in a minute. or seconds. There we go. No, it's actually already done. I didn't need to go anywhere. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to run the yarn in an Encore dev server. But before we do that, what we need to do is we need to head over to the webpack config.js. And this was created when we installed the Symfony Encore. So what we can do in here is, because we're going to be using Vue, strangely enough, we need to enable it. So we can say enable Vue loader. There we go. And it even has autocomplete for us. So that's it. That's all we need to do. And then we can head over. I sounded West Country there. We can head over to the command line and then run that Encore dev server. Don't worry, it's going to scream at us and say, "Oh, there's so much stuff you've not installed, you idiot!" Blah blah blah. You know, don't worry about that. So it's giving us it's giving us an error here saying that we don't have Vue, we don't have Vue loader, we don't have basically anything that we need to make this Vue enable Vue loader to function. So we just copy that command that it's given us here, this yarn add, and just run it. And again, some fluffy magic will occur in which things get installed and you know, people do things. I don't know where I was going with that one. Right, so now we can run the Encore dev server again, and you know, it should give us a big error. Oh no, excellent, we got, oh, that's good. I didn't expect that. It's always nice when it works. So essentially now we're going to go and break it, because I want to change up how this is organized, because I basically just don't like it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of that stuff and just delete it. Right, like so. Okay, so now we have a lot of errors, and it's saying, you know, why are we doing this? We've just killed the application. Don't worry, don't fret. We will rectify the situation. So I'm going to create a main.js. You can call it whatever the hell you want. I call it main because it makes me happy. And in here we're going to basically, this is where we're going to have the main application. So we need to make sure inside of the webpack config that we're pointing to that file. So we can see here, add entry, assets.app. So we need to change that to main.js. And yeah, that's it. So now we can do all of the fluffy things and wonderful things that Vue, you know, gives us. So we can say we want to import Vue from, shockingly, Vue. And then we want to import, for now we'll just leave it like that. And we'll create a new Vue application, and we'll, you know, create an object and put some stuff into that object. I'm kind of writing pseudocode at the moment because it doesn't exist, but we'll kind of add it in shortly. So we can add in a router, a store, and then we can add in a render function, and we will say h something like this, and we'll pass in app, and this doesn't exist at the moment, so we can do it like this. Okay, so I'll just create the components folder, or directory, whatever you want to call it, and then inside of here I'll create a new file, and we'll call it app.vue. And then in here we'll create the Vue template, like so. Give it a div. Oh, there we go. And in here we'll just use the Vue router view, like so. And then here we're going to use scoped CSS, and then here we will use that one. Oh, actually, that's the wrong one. Doesn't matter. So here we can just pass in a name, and we'll give that name, call it app, like so. So now we can go back to the main.js file, and we can import that app component we just created, which should, yes, that's fine. Okay, so now we need to create a view. So we can create another directory called views, not view, and in here we can create a file called home.view, like so. And because I am lazy, I'm just going to copy that because I can't be asked typing that out again. And in here we'll just say, give it a big H1, just so we can see the thing, and say home. Again, I love caps, so why not? Change the name to home, and that's it. All right. So what else do we need? Okay, so we have the components, we have the view. We need to create a router, like so, and we need to create a store. I don't know why I gave it a capital. There we go. Okay, so inside of here, I'll create a new router.main. I use main a lot, so especially with JavaScript for some reason, I don't know why. Like that. Okay, so in here what we're going to do is we're going to create, obviously, the routes that we're going to be using. So essentially what we need to do is we need to import the view first from, actually does that work? Let's see, from view, no, shame. Okay, so, and then we need to import the, I mean, this is it's going to shock you, but we need to import the router from, yep, you've probably guessed it, from view router, which I'm guessing doesn't exist because we haven't installed it. So we can create a new command line and just say yarn add view dash router, like so, and let it load. Fantastic. Okay, so that's, now it should auto-complete. There we go. We can see we've imported the view router, and then we're just going to tell view to use the view router. View router, there we go. Okay, and then we'll define a const of routes, which is going to be an array of objects. So we can say path is going to be home, because that's where I am, and then we'll give it a name, and the name is going to be home, and the component is also going to be home, like so, but we'll need to import it, which we haven't done, and we haven't written that component yet. Oh no, we have written the component actually, yes we have. So we can just import that, like so. We need views and then home, like that. Okay, and then we need to add in some stuff here that's going to configure the router to to be happy. So we're going to say create a new constants of the view router, like so, and then we'll pass in an object. We'll give this object some data, basically. So we want to give it a mode of history, and then we want to give it a base of process dot env dot base URL, like so, and then routes. We can pass in routes. There we go. So we're passing in this array of objects into the view router, like so, and then obviously we need to export this. And if you're a bit confused at the moment and wondering why on earth are we doing this, don't worry. All will reveal itself at the climax of our adventure. So just follow along, and you'll kind of figure out what the hell's going on towards the end. So that is the router written. Do we need to add anything else? I don't think so. That looks good to me. So now we can move on to the store. It's going to be very bare because we're not going to be using very much of it at the moment. We'll add to it later. We're going to import Vue from Vue, there we are. And then we'll import Vuex, which is, if you don't know what Vuex is, I would suggest you pause the tutorial now and go and look at it. Also, I have to add it because I haven't added it. Vuex, like so. There we go. Add some beautiful things to our project, and then it's going to give us that option in the autocomplete menu. And again, here we need to tell Vue to use this, to use the store. So we're going to pass in the Vuex like that. Vue use Vuex, Vuex or whatever. And then we're going to export the default new vuex.store. And then we're going to create a function and pass an array into that. And then these things should be familiar to you if you're familiar with Vue. If not, don't worry too much about it. We'll kind of, you'll see how it all works later on. Just for now, just add them in, and you'll see how it all kind of fits together later on. So we'll add that, and we will add modules, because we will be using modules for some things, for example, the JSWT authentication system that we'll be setting up. And you don't need to export default because you've already exported this element here. Okie dokie. So we can run the, let's create a new terminal. And here what we will do is we will run the server, the backend server that is. Right, so we'll run that, and we can see that we have this link, which is the essentially localhost link. And there we go, we have the Symfony application, the backend. That's what we're looking at right now. Open. So we want to go to some URL like home, and we want to see the front end, stuff. Obviously, if we do that now, it's not going to work, and the reason being is because we haven't told Symfony to basically use Vue. So now what we need to do is we need to switch over to Symfony in the controller here. We'll create a new app controller. Controller.php. I'm trying to go too quickly, aren't I? And then in here we will create essentially a controller that's going to tell Symfony to point to where to point to, basically. So we're going to use app controller as the namespace, and then we'll create a class which is going to be called app controller, and it will extend it will extend the abstract controller. I've spelled that wrong. There we go. Okay, so it pulled it in for us, and we can do beautiful things like that. What we're going to put in here is we're going to put, first off we'll put a route, there we go, and we will give it a route. So we'll say / and then we'll just call it entry, and we'll give it a name. Let's give it a name of app.entry, like so. If you're not familiar with this syntax, this is the PHP 8 annotation syntax, which is pretty cool. Okay, so then we can say, okay, we want a public function, and we will call it app. Give it a save, everything. Yeah, neat and tidy. Let's indent that. It didn't look very nice. Why was it? Okay. Right. So now in here we essentially, first off we need to return a response, and it will be the HTTP Foundation response, and then we can just say return this render, and then we're going to tell it what to render. We're going to render the base HTML.twig, which we have in here already. Okay, so let's actually open that up. Okay, so we the only thing we need to do in here is we need to uncomment that, and we need to uncomment that, and we need to delete this, and we can add in I'm going to say root. I think we named it root. I'll check now. Just add a div called root, and yes, so this will load in all the JavaScript tags. I mean, pretty self-explanatory stuff, but you know, if you need hand holding, you know, here's the style sheets that will be loaded in by Encore as well. Big giveaway here, it says Encore. So let's head over to the main.js file just to check what we haven't mounted it. So here we can just say mount like so, and then we can give it pass in root, because that's what we named it inside of that base HTML. So what's essentially the process that's happening here is Symfony loads up, we go to any endpoint, and it will load in this base model, and then once that gets loaded in, the Mainjs will mount onto the root ID of div with the ID of root, and yes, that's pretty much what's happening. Okay, so we have one error. So we just need to go into the webpack config and comment that enable stimulus bridge. We don't need to know what it does. So that should be fine, and if we pull up that again, let's see what's happening. Yay! We're getting a successful build on our front end. Fantastic. Okay, so now we can let's just double check. Yes. Okay, so I think now we can head over here to Chrome, and we can refresh and see what happens. Okay, so we're loading something in now. Let's see what's going on. And it says here router is not defined. Ooh, scary. Okay. And where is it telling us that this is not defined? In the main JS, line 7. No, that's in the store. Main, where's the main? There we go, main. Yes, of course, because I'm not importing it. So we need to import the router from the router main. There we go. Okie dokie. So now if we refresh this, we're still getting, oh, of course, store's not defined either. Okay, so import the store from .store.main, like that. I like this, naming convention. For me, it works because it's quite, you go to the main store, right? You go to the main router. It's quite useful. Okay, so let's third time lucky. There we go. Woo. Okay, so we are loading in the application with an app component, and then we're loading in a view via the app component. Excellent. Okay, so we'll stop here for this one, and the next in the next episode, video, whatever you want to call it. In the next one, we will be discussing, or not. Well, actually, we won't be talking at all. I'll be just talking at you and telling you how to do the JSWT authentication with this setup, and I'll also show some cool tricks, tips, I don't know, stuff like that. So it's gonna be awesome. You should join. And yeah, peace, love, and happiness. Live long and prosper, be merry, all that stuff. And safe. Oh yeah, I forgot the main one now. Don't die from the plague. Have a good one. Bye.